الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قال الله تعالى تبارك في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين صدق الله العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to today's Jummah. Today's topic is one which is very heart-rending and directly applicable to our community in view of some of the headlines that we've been listening to, the very sad, unfortunate, tragic, vicious cycle of violence that we see around us in the form of knife crime, and I would add the increase of other types of crime, gun crime, related to gang culture and a certain culture of violence within our own communities, which is now hitting home, affecting our children and our families and our communities. As you would have known, just a few days ago, we had the tragic, fatal stabbing in Small Heath of a 16-year-old. And the perpetrators of these stabbings, again, were 15, 16-year-old teenagers. Just last week, a few yards away from our masjid, we had the stabbing of another 16, 17-year-old. One of our own, from our community, a Muslim, a soul, someone's child, stabbed to death just a few yards from here. Similarly, there's been a string of stabbings all over Birmingham. And this is no coincidence, my dear brothers and sisters. It's a pattern, as I mentioned, a cycle of violence, which is now becoming endemic part of our communities. And this is my problem. This is our masjid's problem. This is your problem. This is what your children are being exposed to, our families are being exposed to out there, in our colleges, in our schools, in our streets, in our parks. If we don't have a strategy, an approach, and the most shameful thing I would say as a Muslim is that knife crime, violence, drugs should be the last thing that defines Muslim communities. As Muslims, we have the strongest ammunition, the strongest defense mechanisms to confront these. And this is our faith, our religion, our belief, our values, what we stand for. It's a contradiction, my dear brothers. Something's wrong. That within our communities, our children are suffering violence and are inflicting violence. Today I want to talk about why is it that this profile, which is one of a Muslim teenager or a Muslim male, is part of this vicious cycle. And the first thing I want to talk about, my dear brothers and sisters, is this concept of masculinity. Who's a man in society? And what does Islam say about who's a man? Where are we taking our values from? What makes us a man? What defines us? Our masculinity? What honors us in society? We need to rethink and send out these messages to one another to remind ourselves that you're not a man if you carry a knife. You're not a man if you condone violence. You're not a man if you can't control yourself. Let's go to the Quran and the Sunnah. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah tell us about masculinity? we should be well aware of the type or the definition or this notion of masculinity out there in the media, in the films, in pop culture, in music, in symbolism out there, the one of the alpha male, the dominant male, the strong male who stands out because of his physical prowess. He's pumping iron in the gym. He's dominant, he's strong. He stands out amongst men and women because of his physical looks, because of the way he dresses, the way he's branding himself, the cars that he drives, the bling that he wears. This is the alpha male. And this is the game of shaitan, to make us think that you stand out, you're defined through your ego, through the impression, the image that you're sending out. And this isn't just on a common level. You see it in power politics. You see leaders out there. You see policies where the dominant rule over the poor, where power has the upper hand and defines everything. Money, fame, this is all power. But my dear brothers and sisters, we are Muslims. This question was asked Ali ibn Talib. He was walking, and Hazrat Ali heard a few men talking about masculinity. What is masculinity? And he stopped the conversation and he said to them one thing, an ayah from the Holy Quran. He said, أو ما كفاكم الله عز وجل ذاك في كتابه إذ يقول إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان فالعدل الإنصاف والإحسان التفضل فما بقي بعد هذا. He said, doesn't it suffice for you guys to know that Allah has said in the Holy Quran that He has ordered justice and excellence in your lives? And then He defined to them what's justice. He said, and al-adl, justice, al-adl, insaf, being fair with one another, being fair in your relationships with one another, with your family members, with your friends, with your community, but just be a fair person. And secondly, excellence is tafaddul. And tafaddul, my dear brothers and sisters, means when you don't make yourself the center of attention, you kill your ego. And this is the theme of Islam, or the theme of humanity from the time of Adam. Kill thy ego. You're nothing. And tafaddul means when you put other people before yourselves. This is masculinity. When you sacrifice your whims, your desires for Allah and for humanity. And this was Hazrat Ali saying from the Holy Quran, from the primary sources. Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu said, what's a man? A man, the basis of a man, the foundation of a man is not your body, is not your clothes, is not your material manifestation. He said, Aslu rajuli aqluhu. A man is defined by this, his head, his intellect, the way he thinks, his knowledge, his education, his culture, his values. This is the asl of a man. Very deep, because in the Quran we're told that mankind definitely has been raised. But at the same time, mankind is also like animals. Bal hum adall, even worse than animals, because of this lower base of the soul, which is the soul, the nafsul ammara, which is the shaitan behind pulling the strings, making us, tempting us into this fitna, into this ego, and trying to big ourselves up in front of men and women. And Ali said, Aslu rajul aqluhu is your intellect, which is your education, the way you're brought up. Wa hasabuhu deenuhu, and your honor as a man is your deen. And your deen, my dear brothers, obviously Islam is deen, but the word deen in Arabic isn't just you're worshipping, you're praying, your hajj, your sawm, your zakah. Deen means a way of life, your value system, how you think as a person. And then he said, وَمُرُوءَتُهُ, and manliness, masculinity, خُلُقُهُ, is his character. How he handles himself as a human being. How he talks to people. His kindness, his compassion, and how he allows his mind to control his body. And his anger and his passions, etc. The next generation, after Hazrat Umar bin al-Khattab, we have Hassan al-Basri, a very famous Sufi poet, who said very clearly, he said, إِنَّهُ لَا دِينَ لِمَنْ لَا مَرُوءَ لَهُ. He said, that person, that man, you may well think you're a Muslim, you may have a Muslim name, Muhammad, Ahmad, Abdullah, but you have no deen if you have no masculinity. So how was masculinity defined, my dear brothers and sisters? I'll give you a few examples of masculinity in Islam, as opposed to the alpha male. Al-hilmu 'inda al-ghadab wal-'afwu 'inda al-qudra. A very famous saying. Showing patience when you're very, very angry. When the situation provokes you so much, you become so angry, you want to explode. وَالْعَفْوُ عِنْدَ الْقُدْرَةِ, but you show forgiveness at that point. You put the knife down. You don't even think about the knife. You don't think about violence. But you're able to deal with the situation physically. You're able to use your voice. And you're able to sort the person out. But وَالْعَفْوُ عِنْدَ الْقُدْرَةِ, you show forgiveness. You say, no, I'm better than this. I'm going to rule over my ego and my passions, and I'm a Muslim. And this af comes in the Quran many, many times. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that he is not strong, physically strong, who is a wrestler, who is physically strong. But he is strong, who can control his nafs, his passion, his egos, his character. And you know, one of the greatest wrestlers and the greatest fighters, the ones who was known for his physical ability, he was strong. In our days, you know, we compare him to a warrior. Hazrat Amir Hamza, the father of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's father's younger brother. There was only maybe 2 to 4 years between him and the Prophet. And he loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not only was there a relationship of religion, because Amir Hamza became a Muslim afterwards, but there was a family relationship, a very strong bond between them. And you know, Amir Hamza loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much that even before he became a Muslim, he was a fighter, he was a wrestler, he was defined by his physical prowess, his chivalry. He was an archer. He used to take part in wars and fights. This is what he was known for. And Islam was about the opposite, controlling your ego, controlling violence. And it happened that one of the tribe leaders, Abu Jahl, greatest tribe leaders, he was surrounded by men around him. And Amir Hamza walked in. And he assaulted Abu Jahl, hit him so hard on the head that Abu Jahl started to bleed, cracked his head. And he said to him, you insulted my nephew. And this was the love of Amir Hamza. This was before he was a Muslim. No one dared to stand up against Amir Hamza. And do you know the fate of Amir Hamza, what happened to him? When he became a Muslim and he fought in Uhud, somebody hired an assassin, Hind hired an assassin. And this assassin was an Ethiopian spearman who took Amir Hamza out, killed him. And after the battle, they mutilated his body, took out his liver and parts of his body, and made amulets for Hind, who was the hit lady, or hitman is used here. And this really hurt Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Think about the times when your anger takes over you, when your mother, your father, your uncle, your tribe your family, your name is insulted. Someone swears at you. Think about the anger that comes. This is the Prophet's uncle whose body was mutilated. And this man, Wahshi ibn Harb, feared Rasulullah. After the killing, he moved from place to place. But Islam grew in strength and he followed him. And when he was in his last place, he realized Rasulullah was on his way. And when Rasulullah came and he heard that Wahshi had become a Muslim, Rasulullah forgave him. And when he came in front of Rasulullah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "You killed my uncle, and I can't see you until the day of judgment. But I still forgive you." And my dear brothers and sisters, we have examples in Borsal Heath. I can give you first-hand examples of people who stabbed each other, who've beaten each other until the other person's in a coma because one person has sworn at someone's family member, and so on. Islam says you're defined by your character, how you deal with situations when you're on the road rage. You don't allow your passions, your anger to take the better of you. This is what an animal is. And how shameful it is that we as Muslims are being defined by statistics which show that in proportion there's more of us in prisons. In education, we're failing. In the drug culture, we're at the forefront. We're failing. And my message very briefly to you, and you may think, well, I'm not affected by knife culture or gun culture or drugs and what's happening out there, but you are. Because when that one person is stabbed, it's their mother, their father, their family, their neighbors, everyone's a victim. And not only that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if you're a Muslim, make your life meaningful. A Muslim is he through whose hands we are safe. A Muslim protects the life of another person, the property of another person, the honor of another person. We don't take selfies and look for likes for pictures that we take when a crime takes place. We regret and we're ashamed when these things happen. We help. We work with the police. We work with the imams. We work with the masjids. And an example I want to give you of our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for our elders. How important it is that we open our doors of the masjid to our youngsters and make our masjids more relevant for them. We speak to them in English. We make the masjid a hub of social activity. We work on rehabilitation. We work on character building. We work on leadership. How many masjids still out there are so irrelevant? I'm going to give you one example just to think about. If someone was to walk through this door right now, and in this masjid where we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and read Jummah, and was to stand by that wall and urinate at that wall, be honest with yourselves, what would your reaction be? Someone urinating in your masjid, think about your reaction. It happened to Rasulullah. A man walked into Masjid al-Nabwi, the masjid, the mother of all masjids. The masjid where you go, you save a life's earning to go there. And a man walked into this masjid where the Prophet is now buried, and he urinated in the masjid. And the companions got up and they were going to deal with him, and Rasulullah stopped them. He said, "Da'u, leave him. Let him continue. Let him finish his urination." They were shocked. When he finished his urination, Rasulullah called him and said to him why it was so bad what he did. That this is a place of worship, a place of peace, a place of serenity. And what you did was you spread germs and you insulted the masjid. However, Rasulullah forgave him. But he explained to him in such a beautiful manner that maybe his mother and his father hadn't even given him so much tenderness and love. This person became a Muslim. And he said something so beautiful and innocent. He said, may Allah bless you and bless me, but not bless other people. And he was referring to those companions who wanted to be harsh to him. And these are the snippets, these are the values, my dear brothers and sisters, that are our values. Now, the message I want to give to you, impart to you today, is that a Muslim changes things physically. If you see something wrong in your society, in our communities, we do something about it. We're not those passive type of people. That's what Islam is about. And the second thing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said was that you talk about it. You acknowledge it. You acknowledge that it's wrong to do, which is why we're talking about ourselves as a community and what we need to do and acknowledge our weaknesses, educate our children, work with them, love them, show them compassion, open our doors. If even by talking we can't do anything, my dear brothers and sisters, you must think of something in your mind and think it's bad, at least. Because if you see someone who has a knife, it's incumbent upon you in Islam to advise them, my dear brother. No, you're acting the role of God, and Allah will deal with you, and you will hurt other people. Similarly, if you speak out and you save that one person's soul, for example, because of your action, you befriended somebody, and they've listened to you, you will get the reward of that. And what does Allah say in the Quran? وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. Whoever saves a single soul is like he has saved the whole of humanity. So my dear brothers and sisters, we need to talk openly about these. Come to the masjid, work with us on our projects. In this masjid alone, alhamdulillah, we have 700 children we work with. We're trying to be relevant. We talk to them as I hope you will talk to your children about what's going on around in community, about killing our egos, about killing our nafs, about learning what's happening in the world around us, you know. And some of these youngsters, they've not traveled, seen the world, and seen how fortunate we are living in this country. We have access to one of the best education systems in the world, to universities, to colleges, to schools. I've just come back from Tanzania, where people earn on average $20 a month. Yeah, people don't know whether they have food on the table for the following day. If you look at our brothers and sisters in Palestine, the biggest refugee camp in the world, and yet when we look at our own lives, we're pulling out knives, we're dealing in drugs, we're far removed from education. So here at the Trust, we're working. But if I could invite you, come to the masjid more often, ask how you can help in our charity work, in our educational work. Help us out in our tarbiyah, in our leadership programs. Inshallah, just before Salah, I'd like to thank one of our guests here, Neil Patrick, who will be sharing a few words with you on this relevant issue which I just spoke to you about. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ.